It's okay. If you're too embarrassed to ask these questions, I'm going to ask them and then answer them for you on today's episode. Here we go. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and it's totally normal to have a lot of questions about going on a cruise, but what if one of the questions you have, is kind of personal or weird, or you simply don't want to be that guy who gets called out on the internet forum for being naive? I always have that kind of trepidation when I'm trying to figure out something that's new to me, and the last thing you want to do is ask a question that was so obvious from the start, or simply is very personal and you feel a little weird about asking it in a public forum. But new cruisers want to know a lot about cruising, and because cruising is a very personal kind of experience, it very much depends on your personal preferences and whatnot, there can be some times in which asking certain things could make you feel a little uncomfortable. So, to make it easier on everybody, I decided to offer some of the questions we get asked a lot, and quite frankly, you might feel a little weird about asking yourselves. Number one, do I really need to pay gratuities? When you book a cruise, you're going to find an additional gratuity charge will be added to your cruise fare, either before or after you're sailing. When you book your cruise, you have the choice of prepaying gratuities or having it added on later on during your sailing. The service gratuity right now is $18 per person per day for guests in a non-suite or junior suite staterooms, and for guests in suites, it's $20.50 per person per day. The charge is based on industry standards and is charged for every guest as a way to reward crew members for the service that they do on board. Now, you can remove gratuities from your account while on board the ship, but that idea is that you're going to do so because you want to pay out cash instead of being charged to your card. But what you don't want to do is remove gratuities as a cost savings mechanism. The gratuities go towards two different groups of people. First of all, your stateroom attendant, who takes care of all your needs within your cabin, and of course, your dining room staff. Now, if your argument is, well, I don't think gratuities should be compulsory, I think it should be truly optional in the academic sense of the word gratuities, hey, I'm with you on that. But that's something that needs to change within the industry, and you need to convey that to Royal Caribbean. And when that happens, cool, I'll be on board with that too. But in the meantime, it's the reality of the cruise industry, and paying your gratuity is something you should do no matter who's going on a cruise with you. Number two, how easy is it to fall off a cruise ship? Unfortunately, you may have seen some news reports over the years in which somebody goes overboard on a cruise, and a lot of first-time cruisers really fear that this is really going to happen to them. So how likely is it that you could actually fall off a cruise ship or your balcony or over the deck or whatever the case may be? And the reality is, it's almost impossible to accidentally fall off a cruise ship like you would see in a cartoon or something. All the railings are built to be at least chest high, around 4 feet tall. Incidents in which someone does go overboard on a cruise ship usually happens because they climbed on top of a railing or purposely jumped off, or they were somewhere they weren't supposed to be in the first place. As long as you're following the rules and not going somewhere you're not supposed to be, it's pretty unlikely that you'll fall off a cruise ship into the ocean. Number three, is that the water safe to drink on a cruise ship? While you certainly could pay for bottled water on your cruise, you might be wondering if the water that comes out of the tap is okay to drink. Is it safe? And the answer is absolutely. All the water is rigorously distilled and purified according to sanitation standards approved by the U.S. Public Health Service. The water is regularly desalinated, treated, filtered, and tested to confirm the water quality. And all Royal Caribbean cruise ships are also inspected frequently for sanitation. Do crew members sleep on the cruise ship? This may seem very silly, but this question is asked way more often than you might think. Just like guests, yes, crew members sleep on board during the cruise on the ship. In fact, their contracts last many months at a time, during which they're living on board. There are special crew quarters on board, and most crew cabins are below the decks where the guests are living. In fact, when you see like deck 2 and you think this is the lowest deck, actually there's probably 3 or 4 decks that go below that in which you find crew cabins. Many crew members share a small cabin with one or other roommates. The size of the cabins do vary, but they're definitely small and certainly going to be smaller than most typical guest cabins. Most crew cabins are around 120 square feet in size, and crew members also have a separate set of amenities on board, like their own laundromat, crew gym facilities, hair salons, and a separate cafeteria or bar. The next question you might have that you're too embarrassed to ask is, you're scared of being out in the open ocean? Are you crazy? And the reality is, it's perfectly normal to have a fear of the ocean, but some people worry that this might stop them from cruising. The reality is that a cruise could actually be a great way to confront and overcome that fear. Cruise ships are incredibly safe. The odds of dying on one are about 1 and 6.25 million. Cruising is one of the safest forms of travel, especially compared to cars, which we use every single day. Cruise ship vessels are carefully built, regulated, and monitored. Ships receive frequent safety inspections, and most cruise lines go above and beyond government requirements. Not only that, but cruise ships are very large, and you really won't feel like you're floating on the ocean. It's totally unlike a fishing boat or anything like that. They're really more like huge hotels where you'll have too much fun to even worry about feeling scared. You don't have to worry about getting close to the ocean at all. Instead, you'll be able to admire its beauty from afar. And if you're afraid of traveling on a smaller boat, just avoid a cruise that uses tenders, which are smaller boats that transport you to shore, and quite frankly, in this day and age, it's pretty unlikely that'll happen. The next question is, how do I meet the captain while I'm on my cruise? The captain, of course, is responsible for everything on the cruise ship, so will you have an opportunity to meet this important figure? And how interactive the captain is with passengers depends on, of course, the captain themselves, because everyone is unique. On some cruises, the captain and cruise director hold a Q&A session for guests to ask about workings of the ship. And after that event, there's usually an opportunity to meet the captain. Some cruises also have a captain's welcome reception on board, in which the captain makes a toast and takes photos with guests. In other situations, the captain does walk around the ship, and if you know what he or she looks like, well, you'll be able to spot them on board. The next question you might have is, will you be bored on a cruise? Out of all the fears you might have about cruising, being bored might be the most unreasonable. A roller coaster cruise is filled with an overwhelming amount of activities that you can take part in, most of them being completely free. The exact activities vary depending on the ship and sailing, of course, but every day of your cruise, there's guaranteed to have a variety of activities. If you're looking for physical and sporting events, check out the rock climbing wall, mini golf, sports court, flow rider surf simulator, water slide, zip line, ice skating, laser tag, or even fitness classes. If entertainment and shows are more your style, there are games, live music, theater, and musical performances, comedians, acrobats, and karaoke. And for those who prefer to live on the edge and gamble, there's always a casino and bingo on board. And there's plenty of other events, including nightclub events, movies, parades, tours, and educational classes. And there are multiple trivia contests a day. Besides all these activities, there are pools and hot tubs and a wealth of different venues to try. The only reason you need to be bored on a cruise is if you chose to do absolutely nothing and just, I don't know, sit in your room, I guess. But there is plenty to do on a cruise to keep you busy and occupied. So the only reason you'd be bored is because you choose not to do anything. Next up, do I have to share a bathroom with other cruise passengers? And while cruise ship cabin bathrooms are small, you don't have to worry about sharing with anybody else. Every cabin has its own private bathroom with a toilet, sink, and shower. Sometimes if you stay in like a bigger room, like a suite, you might actually have a bathtub or even multiple bathrooms. But the bottom line is you'll have your own private bathroom within your cabin. Of course, there are public bathrooms elsewhere on the ship. And yes, those you need to share with other people. But within your cabin, you have your own refuge in there. Speaking of the bathroom, another question that actually gets asked is the toilet water fresh or salt water? And we have it on pretty good authority that it is actually potable water, so it's fresh, but you don't need to take my word for it, but I wouldn't recommend trying it either way. And lastly, is it okay or should I or can I sneak booze on board? If you've been on TikTok, odds are you've probably seen plenty of videos of people trying to sneak alcohol on board their ship. There's plenty of how-tos on doing that. Now, roller coaster prohibits you from bringing beer or liquor on board at all. It's one of the prohibited items that is not allowed. And yet, all of these TikToks out there that show cruise hacks how to smuggle booze on board might make you think that this is something that can commonly be done or easily done. There's a few reasons why this is a bad idea. First and foremost, many of these ideas are tedious to set up, cumbersome to execute, and could get you in serious trouble with the cruise line. Look, I get it. Alcohol is expensive and drink package is not cheap, and you want to be able to enjoy your cruise and save a little money along the way. We're all on a budget. I'm with you on that. The problem is, it's Royal Caribbean's rules or the highway. You agreed to go on the cruise. You chose to book the cruise. You chose to elect and abide by the rules that you agreed to when you booked the cruise. Whether you read the rules or not, that's a whole different story. But this is the law of the land, so to speak, as you book the cruise. I've heard all the excuses why it's okay to do so. It's expensive, requirements for all adults to buy one if one other one does. I need to buy it for the entire sailing, and plenty of other ones there. The reality is, it's Royal Caribbean's decision on what the rules are, and it's not negotiable because you are electing to go on a cruise. No one's forcing you to do so. Now, we have plenty of ways to save money on alcohol packages and ways to even save money on drinking in general. We've done some videos about that in the past, and there are ways to make it a little more affordable. And of course, you can also, plan a cruise well in advance, more than a year or so, plan things out, budget accordingly. There are plenty of ways to make it far more affordable to be able to enjoy and get your drink on during the sailing. But Flagrantly breaking the rules is just not cool. Not to mention the fact that all these workarounds and hacks that you see on TikTok require you to basically go back to your cabin constantly in order to drink. That doesn't sound like a fun experience at all. But more importantly, no, you should not be cheating the drink package, and no, you should not be sneaking alcohol on board your cruise ship. So there you have a look at all the embarrassing questions. Maybe you were too embarrassed to ask, but I'm going to ask them for you over here. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on these questions. Have you thought them yourselves? And did I miss any really embarrassing questions? You can totally post it here, and I'll answer them. No judgment at all. While you're down below our video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way, YouTube lets you know we have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.